Well, it's a family story originally. My grandfather was a governor in Pinneberg outside Hamburg at the end of the Second World War. He made a very unusual decision, which was to share a house he'd requisitioned with the German family rather than throw them out and put them into billets. Had he not done that, we wouldn't be standing here now because it led to a British and a German family sharing a house for 5 years. And that was the kernel, really, of my own novel. I thought about writing it as a memoir, but I didn't want to be beholden to the facts, if you like. I wanted to create my own story. So I wrote the book. I actually wrote the screenplay before I wrote the book. It has an unusual genesis. But essentially, I was doing them in tandem. So I was thinking cinematically early, although I felt it was a novel first. And the process actually has been relatively seamless because I was already thinking cinematically early in the sort of development of the story. Yeah, you're right. It's a lost bit of history, really. We know about the Second World War. We know about the Cold War. There's this bit in the middle where a few countries were trying to rebuild a former enemy's country, and it was a massive effort and a remarkable effort, really. And it's sort of from that, I guess you could say, a modern Europe was born out of those decisions that were made in that time. So when I wrote the story, I was not that familiar with that period myself and was sort of stunned that there was so little written about it. So if the story exposes that to a wider audience, then I'll be happy. When you write, you have ideas, maybe, but the ideas change. I didn't think of those guys. That said, Keira in particular has delivered an amazing performance. She really owned that role. In a way, that's key because Rachel is the character that carries the film, carries the through line, really, of the journey. And Jason also does a beautiful job, technically playing my grandfather. Keira's technically playing my grandmother. So I think I can't really complain about the cast, and they've done a beautiful job. Well, James is very painterly, sensitive director, and it needed that because it's a very sensitive moments in the film, as you would have seen. And he handled that intimacy and that subtle. I think it's a very elegant film.
Just after the war, my grandfather was a governor of Pinneberg, just outside Hamburg. He did a very unusual thing. He requisitioned a house that normally you would throw the German owners out of into a camp, and he said, no, we will share the house. And they shared the house for 5 years. And I always thought that was, an extraordinary setup for a story. Former enemies living together. And it was that was the seed, as you say, for my own version of that story. Well, that's a good question in an age where, television is doing so well. But it feels like a proper cinematic experience. And it's very gorgeous to look at, and sometimes I'll watch a movie and I think, well, I could have seen that on TV, but I think this definitely has to be seen in the cinema to be fully appreciated. It's very atmospheric, it's very painterly. I think James, the director, has done a beautiful job with the look of it. So yes, it's something almost old school about it, in the best meaning of that phrase. Well, it's very moving, it's very elegant, it's thoughtful, it's quite timely, I think. Not that we planned that, with the resonance with Europe, and probably Keira's best performance, in my view. It's about reconciliation. It's about how do you balance forgiveness and justice? How do you understand the other and overcome prejudice and resentment? So there's some big themes there, and hopefully, a moving relational story as well.